everyone. Today I'm going to show you how I sharpen the chisel. And here is a chisel that I have, and you can see how bad it is. It's really pitted. It's dented on top here. You can see all these little nicks here, and this one here is not polished on the bottom. So we're really taking a chisel from scratch and trying to resharpen it so that it will cut much better than it is now. And I'm going to show you my sharpening method to get this thing razor sharp. So with that, we're going to begin. When sharpening a chisel, you really don't have to sharpen the whole chisel. You really just sharpen just the tip of the chisel, because that's what's going to come in contact with the wood. So let me give you an example to show you. And here I have a piece of paper that I cut that looked like a chisel. You can see that here the bottom is flat like the chisel, and when you grind this part here to create the bevel, and this is called the primary bevel. So there are two bevels. There's a primary bevel, and then there's a secondary bevel. So with that said, first of all, we have to shape our existing chisel with the primary bevel, which is 25 degrees. And the bottom has to be completely flat, because really this is the only spot where it actually will make the cut. Not up here, but just on that little tip. And that's where we really need to get that 25 degree first to create a... What I use to create the bevel on my chisels and also my hand planes is a grinding system called a Tormek. And this is the machine that I used to remove the metal to get to the nice bevel part. So you can see here that I need to remove this part here on top and create that 25 degrees to the bottom. And of course, what I use is this Tormek. It is actually a water system, and it has a stone on one side, which is like a little water stone. It's a really 220 grit water stone, and then on the other side, this one here is actually a stropping wheel. And I've had this machine for, oh God, I would say over 20 years, and it still has lasted me today, and I love it. It's just a beautiful machine, and it still works. You'll find that you actually have to put water into the trough right here, and you have a guide that you can set, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But we have to set this thing up to make the 25 degree angle to grind our first bevel. When you set this Tormek machine up to grind your bevel, it comes with this little gauge here, and the gauge actually has to be set first so that you can use it. We need a 25 degree angle, which is located right here, and this gauge actually sets for 250, which is the size of the wheel. Now when you mount your blade here, again, we want this 25 degree angle here. It's marked off 25, 30, 35, 40. We want the 25 degree angle. So what you do is you take your blade and you're going to put it into the blade holder, and you slide it right across, just like this. Okay, now we don't know what angle this is. It has to be adjusted, and that's why we need this. And this one has a little rounded edge on one side and flat on the other. And what you need to do is you need to just line it up so you see no gaps on here. Just gonna have to bring that back and forth till you just get it right. And then once you have it, you lock it in. And then you're all set. Okay, check it one more time. And now some people take a marker and they mark the bevel so that they can make sure that the whole stone will make contact with it properly and you have the right angle. So this way when we grind it, we can actually see what we're grinding and remove just the right part of this. Okay, so we're going to put it back into the machine and we're going to start grinding it. Try to get our primary bevel first, now 25 degree. Now on this, you're going to use the whole stone. You're not going to put it on one side. You're not going to just put it on one side because it's going to wear out the stone. So making sure that it goes right into each other. Nice and slow and smooth. Okay, after grinding for a while, you get a nice primary bevel, which I'm going to show you, that looks something like this. This is a 25-degree angle bevel. It is nice and flat and smooth all the way through. Now you can see there's a little burr on top here, and the bottom is not flat, so we're going to flatten the bottom after this. Okay, and we're going to use the sharpening stone system. The sharpening stones that I use are either synthetic, which are, these are diamond stones. Both these are diamond stones, and it's a company called Dual Sharp, and it really has really nice polycrystal diamonds, which are really sharp, and they stay sharp longer. This one here is a Dual Sharp. It's called the Dual Sharp because it actually has two different grits on here. And like I said to you, what you need to do is, well, we first of all did it on the wheel itself. It's a 220 grit. Now we have to go up. So the next one is probably a 600, and on the back of the 600, let me just show you, is another grit, which you can slide right out, and it comes with this holder, which is really nice to elevate it. And this one here is 600, and in the back it's 325. All right, so this is one of them. And then I also have another one you're going to need, or this one here, it's called a 1200. And really, basically, these are the two that you really will probably need to sharpen your stones. You don't need anything more than that. But if you want it even sharper, then you're going to have to go to the next phase, which is going to be my Japanese water stones. And I'm going to show you those in a minute. These here are Japanese water stones, and they're natural stones that are found on the earth. And here we have a 220 grit, you have an 800 grit, a 1200 grit, and the last one is an 8000 grit, which is super fine. And this will get your chisels or your planes to be super sharp. In addition, it'll make them really shiny and polished. And this is the last one that we're going to use. So the first thing we're going to do is, again, we just made the bevel 25-degree angle, like I showed you on that sheet of paper here. This is my my pattern, and you can see that this one here, we just made the 25-degree angle. That is our primary bevel, but now we have to flatten the bottom of our blade, and this is important because you need that to be in contact with the tip. Remember, the tip is where you're going to make the cut. You're going to find that, first of all, we start with really a 600, and then we go up to really the 1200, and that should be enough to really flatten your blade. And with this type of stone, the diamond stones, we actually use a lubricant. We actually use water as a lubricant. And here, what you have to do is, we don't have to do the whole back. We just need to do somewhere around here, because that's all we're going to be concerned with. And what you need to do is put your fingers on here, and you're just going to go back and forth. Okay, since this is a diamond stone, it won't wear out as fast compared to the natural stones. These will stay flat. And you keep on doing this, back and forth, go back, nice and slow. You can make little circles if you wanted to, but we just want to go nice and straight. Keep it flat. Now we want to make sure you keep in contact with it, and that's why we elevated off of this board so that you can actually be on top of the table. Here it's hard to do because, again, we're hitting the handle on top of the table, so we need to be above it because that will change it. That will give us a back bevel, which is what we don't want. Okay, you can start to see that it's starting to look a little shinier, a little bit better. If I can adjust the light to show you. Okay, you can see how it's starting to come together. All right, a little bit more. Okay, you can just flip it and do the other side too. Use the whole stone. Put some liquid here. Now remember, you're only going to do the back one time. You're never going to have to do the back more than this. Just once. You just want it flat. So you have any old chisels, that's what you want, just to make it flat. Okay, so that's good. Just to show you. Okay, so here you can see how it's nice and flat that really is. I just have to turn to get to the light. Okay, we're not going to be really worried about from here to here. You can do it if you want, but that's not really necessary. Okay, so we really want it nice and flat. And then we go to the next one, which is the 1200. And since I don't have a plate for it, we're going to go with this one here. And this will start to polish it too. A 1200 or 1200 will start to polish your metal. Okay, and just to show you, since my B-roll does a really nice job for you. Okay. All right, so once you have the back flat, now what we are then going to do is we are then going to start to do the bevel. We're going to start to get this primary. And to do the primary, again, you can start with a 600. Okay, if it's really bad, then start with maybe less, but we're going to start with a 600. Then we're going to work way to 1200 and to show you how that works. So what you're going to need is you have to find your bevel. So what we do is you actually put your finger on here and try to lift it up until you feel that little edge or the bevel making contact with it, and then you just go back and forth. Now, some people will go just a little bit like this. You can do that for beginners, but I would use the whole stone. You don't want to change the angle too much, so you can check it. I've been doing it for a long time, so I know I got the right bevel. So let me just show you here. Now we want to go forward and backwards because this way it'll look very uniform, consistent. Okay. Now this is technique one. And once you get to that, you should take a look at it, and that looks pretty good. Okay, now you can see that there are some high spots here. You got a high spot here and a high spot here, and in the middle there is also nothing being taken away. So therefore, we need to remove the two high spots, and just keep on doing that for a while. Now again, this is a process. It takes time. When you start getting good at it, you can start going a little longer. Again, we're trying to remove metal by using an abrasive system. Okay, you're starting to see better. Starting to come together. Now, some people use a guide, but I don't, because after a while, I know I can feel the bevel. You can go longer. It'll be much quicker. Okay, you start to remove all that metal. Okay. Okay, it's going to take a little while to get this thing nice and flat, so you have to be patient. And once you get it nice and flat like that, we are pretty much getting close to it. So here you can see I've got the primary bevel, and you can see there's really no scratches on here. If I can show you with the light. Okay, here I got a light on it so you can see how really shiny it is. And there are really no scratches on here whatsoever. It's all beveled. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go to the next one, which is 1200. And on the 1200, same thing. We go back and forth. Again, we are working on the primary bevel. Okay, add a little more water to lubricate the metal. Now, I like to use this first because it does not wear out my stones. If I use the natural stones, I would have to reshape them and actually flatten them constantly. Okay, so here is the 1200. You can see now how nice and clean, and the bevel is nice and sharp. Okay. Now, once you get to this point where it is at the right angle here, then we're going to switch over to the water stones. And the water stones must be flattened, which means that, of course, eventually they're going to wear out because they're very, very soft. This one is an 800 grit. So if I was going to constantly just use this to grind my metal, what happens is it will start to make a little divot in here. And I have to make sure that this thing is completely flat, like my diamond stones. Otherwise, I'm not going to get that nice flatness on my chisels. So what I need to do is sometimes, and periodically, every time you actually use them, you have to flatten them. And this is a 220 flattening stone, which means that what I had to do is I have to take it in here, and then I have to rub it on top. So this it'll maintain the flatness constantly, because I do not want this to get worn out. All right, so this was how you're going to maintain your flatness all the time. So if you can use water stones, this is what you have to do. So if I was going to show you how I use this one here, here is a 800 stone. You use the same technique. Since this was in water, add a little water to lubricate it, and you go back and forth. Go back and flatten it, and then grind it. And that's why these take more work than the diamond stones. Okay, so this one here is a 1200, which I could have used, but after I went to the 1200, now I can go and finish up with this one here, which is the 8000. Now the 8000 is a really super fine stone, and again, I flattened this one already. Just to take the stone out of here, I flattened the stone already. I've actually taken this and flattened it, and you can see that this one here I've had for many, many years, and this one you do the same exact thing. But the first thing you need to do is, remember, we did 600, and then we did the 1200 on the back flat. You need to flatten the back, and once you do this, this is it. You never have to flatten the back again. Just do it once, and all you have to do is just come back once in a while and just hone it, and you can see all that metal. Okay, so you can see how really shiny that really entails. I'm putting it right by the light. Okay, so we're going to do this one here. We're going to do the front bevel. Okay, just like that. And this will start to get a shiny. And now we are finished with the primary bevel. Now the primary is done. This is a 25-degree angle bevel. Now the thing is, you don't just want to use that as just one bevel. You want to make what we call a secondary bevel. And a secondary bevel looks something like this, where if we take this little piece and then we actually make a little 30-degree angle here, and what I'm going to have to do is grind it. And when you grind it, you actually just remove that little tip. So we're going to show you that when you remove that little tip, this is what we're going to do on the stone. We're going to take this little angle here and make it 30 degrees. So now you have a 30-degree angle. This little bit, just a little bit here. So the next time when we come back to grind, we don't need to grind the whole thing here anymore. We just have to grind this little tip. So we're going to change that. So eventually we're going to wear it out more and more and more. It's going to get less, 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 and then we have to regrind the primary. But you really just have to need just this little tip here. And that's what we're going to do. And how you're going to do it is very simple. On this last one, which is your 8,000 grit stone, what you need to do is you need to just, here is the 25-degree angle. You need to raise it up a little bit, which will be about 30. And this is just an educated guess. You don't really have to be precise. You could actually go crazy and put a meter on here and try to get the angle, but all you have to do is just put this up a little bit. Here's the angle, here's the 25, and here is the 30. Just go back a little bit, and you can create what we call a micro bevel. Okay, so and you're going to feel a little burr. Okay, so when you get that little burr, you know you got that micro bevel because you're really curling the metal over. It's coming around, and you create this little burr, and you can feel it. So once I have the little burr, then you flatten it one more time. Just remove that burr, and that should be it. And there you have your chisel completed. Okay, so just to feel it, that thing is super, super sharp. And we're going to do one more thing with this. This is an 8,000 stone. We're going to do one more thing. Now, I don't have a 16,000 stone or a 30,000 stone, which will make it even sharper. But I know this company, Tormek, who makes this grinder, they make this compound. And the compound, they said that this thing is rated to be about 10,000 grit. And what you would do is you would apply this onto a stropping wheel. Again, this is like your little flap wheel that you find over at your barber shop, where the guy just gets the razor nice and sharp, and he just rubs it on here. And this is almost like a leather pad. And you would actually just apply the compound to the wheel, like so. And then you would just rub your chisel on here. Now we're going to do the bevel first. Now remember, the bevel now has a primary and a secondary bevel, because we actually changed the angle here to 30 degrees on the very tip. All right, and you can see this really will make it even more polished. Okay, and then we're going to do the bottom because you have a little slight burr. And again, you do it on the wheel where it's going away from you, not towards you, because it's dangerous to have it coming at you, especially a blade as sharp as this. Okay, so take your time, stroke it. Again, we're making chisel from scratch here, which is really, really dull. Okay. And let's take a look. Okay, we're just going to remove some of the compound off of this thing, and you can see how really sharp this really is and how shiny it is. Let me just get that light. And the camera should be there. Now this is razor sharp. And now we're going to just test it. Now this is a piece of cherry that I have, and we're going to cut it on the end grain, and you can see how this will work. Now it does a beautiful job. Just to show you here. Again, I'm not pushing very hard. It just goes real easy right through it. And that's how you sharpen a chisel. Take care, everybody. See you soon.